Yeah, the most important thing by far is to get in touch with us really as soon as they possibly can on that day and to let us know how much they've missed their offer by. So again, people sometimes assume that we automatically get all of that information, that we get the mark breakdown. We don't. We know whether someone's got like an A star or whether they've got an A or whatever. We don't know whether they've just missed an A star by 1 mark or 2 marks or 4 marks, whatever it may be. So that's the information that we need really quite rapidly on results day.
Hello everyone, welcome to Cambridge from the Inside. We're here with a returning guest today. I'm going to do that again.
But you're going to keep it in as an outtake. You have to.
Maybe at the end. Hello everyone, welcome to Cambridge from the Inside. We're here with a returning guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, so I'm Marcus Tomalin. I'm the Director of Admissions here at Trinity Hall, which is one of the colleges in Cambridge.
Nice. And we're here today to talk about results day and what to do if you've missed your offer. Recently, we've had a lot of questions about this. We recently did a virtual offer holders open day, and in every results day, there's a lot of questions about what to do when you've missed your offer. So to start off, to give like a view, an overview of how many people miss their offer per year, like roughly how many applicants would miss their offer?
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, it varies a little bit from year to year and it varies a bit from sort of subject to subject. But broadly speaking, overall, it's usually around 25%, sometimes up to sort of 30% of people who are offer holders who miss their offer conditions. So just to give an example from this college, just as one sort of point of reference, we might routinely make about 150 offers in January, and we usually end up with about 110, 112 people joining us as new first-year students. So out of that 150 offers that we make, we lose about 40. So guess somewhere around about sort of 25-ish%. And that's a fairly standard percentage, I would say.
Right. That's really interesting, because I think most people would see as getting the offer as almost the end of the journey, or like a huge achievement, receiving an offer from Cambridge is a huge achievement. But I'm not sure if many people realise that 1 in 4 people would miss their offer. And I guess hopefully this would be like a incentive and encouragement to make sure that you do as well as you can in your exams so that you don't miss your offer.
Exactly. And of course, if people, when they apply to us, have already taken their school exams, and so they apply as we tend to call them post-qualification applications, then they're fine. They've already got their school exams and their school exam results. And so we just usually make them an unconditional offer. So they're in a sort of different category. So the ones we're talking about here are the ones who haven't already taken their A-levels or IB exams or whatever by the time they come to apply.
Nice. So going forwards to results day, on results day, if an applicant has missed their offer, what should they do?
Yeah, the most important thing by far is to get in touch with us really as soon as they possibly can on that day, and to let us know how much they've missed their offer by. So again, people sometimes assume that we automatically get all of that information, that we get the mark breakdown. We don't. We know whether someone's got like an A star or whether they've got an A or whatever. We don't know whether they've just missed an A star by 1 mark or 2 marks or 4 marks, whatever it may be. So that's the information that we need really quite rapidly on results day, so that we can factor that into our decision making. We can make good decisions about how to handle the various offer holders who are in the situation where they've just missed their offer conditions.
And if an applicant has missed their offer, can a college change their mind and still give them a place?
It is possible, yeah. So that's really at the discretion of the college that's processing the application. But if someone has just missed their offer by one mark, and if we know perhaps that there are extenuating circumstances, then that's the sort of situation where we may decide to honour the offer, even though the individual has just missed it. I mean, the jargon for that is reprieving. So we might say, yeah, we'll reprieve this person. But again, there's no guarantee that will happen. It's partly dependent on how many places are available. So if, for instance, an unusually high number of people met their offers so that there's just no wiggle room, there's basically no more spaces available in the college in the intake, then we're not really able to reprieve anyone because we haven't got enough bedrooms in the college to get someone else to become part of the intake, in October. So yeah, it's at the discretion of the college. There's no guarantee, but the most important thing for any offer holders in that situation on results day, as I say, it's really just to make sure we have all the information about their marks and how much they missed their offer by. That's really crucial. And I should say that it's really, really helpful if they send us that information by email.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, on results day, quite a few people start phoning. That's fine. We get it. People want to have their questions answered and things like that. We're having to process a lot of information really quite quickly, and phone calls sort of interrupt us from doing that. Whereas if emails come in, we can gather the relevant information together and make sure that we've got all of that, in one place so that we can look at it and hopefully make appropriate and sort of fair decisions. So, people are free to phone us if they feel they need to, but from our point of view, the most useful thing is for them to send us that information via email. That's the most efficient way of doing it.
Nice. What happens when a student has applied for a remark and the remark has become successful such that they have now met their offer, but I guess this could happen like a week or 2 weeks after results day?
Yeah, sometimes even longer than that, actually. That's absolutely fine. We honour successful remarks. So a remark normally means that something's gone a little bit wrong in the examining process, and then on reflection, it's decided that no, this grade that was an A should have been an A star or whatever. We honour all of that. So if someone meets their offer, even if it's via a successful remark, that's no problem. So yeah, that's one possible outcome. On results day, someone may miss their offer, but 2 weeks later they may meet their offer. Then we honour their place.
Nice. If a student, an applicant was to miss their offer, can they be considered by other colleges?
They can. So we have a redistribution process that takes place in the summer, really imaginatively called the summer pool. I'm sure a lot of people watching this will know about the winter pool. That is a redistribution that happens in the winter. So the summer pool is pretty similar. It involves offer holders who have just missed their offer being considered by all the other colleges, so that if there's a college that's had quite a bit of attrition in a particular subject, maybe they made 15 offers for engineering and maybe half of those missed their offers. I mean, occasionally that sort of thing happens. Then they may be looking to find a few more high quality engineers in the summer pool. So yeah, that is a kind of redistribution mechanism that's available. So it's certainly possible that someone can just miss their offer, but then towards the end of the week when they get their results, it's normally on the Friday, they may receive an offer from another college who's looked at the application in the summer pool and thought, yeah, we think this person looks really strong and we want to make them an offer.
Nice. And there's another pool that happens during the summer. Can you expand on what that's it?
Yeah. So again, people sometimes get a little bit confused about this. So the one that I've been describing just now is called the summer pool, and that really is there for offer holders who usually have just missed their offer conditions. There's another pool that happens kind of at the same time. That one's called the August Reconsideration Pool, or the ARP. That's there for people who applied to us, in October, were assessed, were interviewed, did not receive an offer in January, but who subsequently go on to meet the sort of standard minimum offer for their course at Cambridge. So if the standard offer is, I don't know, A star AA on the arts and humanities side, for the particular arts and humanities course that they've applied for, if they meet that, then if they meet certain eligibility criteria, which are basically, contextual flags, then it's possible for them to be considered in the August Reconsideration Pool. So these two pools kind of happen at the same time, but they consist, if you like, of slightly different demographics. One is for offer holders who have just missed their offers, and one is for people who didn't receive an offer, but who have subsequently shown that, they're able to work at a very high standard. And as I say, they meet certain eligibility criteria. If people are eligible for the August Reconsideration Pool, they should have been told that in their offer letter that they received in January. So they should know already whether they're eligible for it. And them being available in that pool doesn't just happen automatically. They have to kind of let us know. There's an online form, basically. They have to let us know that they want to be considered in it, because we don't assume that everyone wants to be considered again by Cambridge. They might be perfectly happy with the offer they received from another university, and that's what they want to do, which is great. So yeah, they have to sort of actively let us know that they want to be considered in the August Reconsideration Pool.
Nice. I think I should also add that we have done podcasts. It's extensively talking about the summer pool and the August Reconsideration Pool, and I can put a link to that podcast in the caption. And we've also done another podcast on what happens if you were to get better results than you expected, and you either hadn't applied to Cambridge, or you had but you didn't get an offer and ended up getting better results. What potential things you can do moving from that. I can add that podcast to our caption as well. Another question that a lot of people ask is, maybe not a lot, but some people ask, is that if an applicant was to meet their offer, are they able to change course?
Yeah, we do sometimes get asked this. I mean, the short answer is yes, it is possible to do that. However, it does need agreement from various key players. So in order to change course, when you've received an offer from Cambridge, you have to get the agreement of the person who is your current director of studies, the person who would be your future director of studies, and it all has to be approved by the senior tutor usually as well, because we just need to make sure that it's in the student's best interests. We don't want someone to change from subject X to subject Y and then really struggle in subject Y. Yeah. So we need to make sure that they're every bit as capable of thriving studying the new subject as we believe they would have been if they'd come to study the original subject. So it's not something that can happen just sort of easily. You can't just sort of click your fingers and make it happen. There is a sort of process, and often that process involves the student being assessed in the same kind of way as if they'd applied for their new subject, in October. So, if there may be some kind of interview that happens, if there's some kind of admissions test that has to be taken, usually, in say, November, December or whatever, then they might have to take a version of that. So we just want to be convinced that if that person had applied for that subject in October, they would have been seriously competitive.
Yeah.
So yes, it's possible, but you do have to convince a few people that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Because I imagine you'd want to avoid a situation where an applicant has been accepted for one subject, but then asks to move to a subject that's statistically harder to get into, but then I guess they would have to demonstrate that they would have been competitive if they had applied.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, we need to be convinced that, if we were assessing a gathered field for that subject in October, November, December, and January, then this individual would, in all probability, have been really in the group of applicants we were considering really seriously for places. And if they're not in that group, then it's probably better that they stick with the subject that they applied for, because we decided that they were one of the strongest people who applied for that course, So it's not a straightforward thing to do, but technically it's possible.
Yeah, because I guess equally, if an applicant has had time to look into other courses or learn about a course that they didn't realize it had existed and realize it was better suited, you wouldn't want to shut the door to that student.
That's right. And if everyone is in agreement that, this change is actually genuinely in the best interest of that student, it's far better that it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So in other words, it is possible to change course, say, during your first year or for your second year or for your third year even, but it becomes more disruptive, So if you try and go through this process after, the first 6 weeks of the first term, well, you've missed out on 6 weeks of lectures and 6 weeks of supervisions for your new course, as it were. So you're starting behind, and there's a lot of catching up that has to be done. So if everyone agrees that the change is a good thing, it's usually better that it happens as soon as possible, so that you have just a clean beginning with the course that you want to change into. As I say, technically it's possible, but there are quite a few interactions that have to happen before it's all approved.
So the next question that we have here is, if an applicant is doing the IB rather than A-levels, or I guess doing any qualifications where they receive their results before students who've received their A-level results, do they have to wait until A-level results have come out, or when would they hear back on whether they've been accepted or not?
Yeah, it's a good thing to ask, because of course people tend to talk about results day, and there isn't really just one day. It's kind of a results period, because sure, the majority of people who apply to us are taking A-levels, but there's a wide range of other school exams that people take, and so those results come out over quite a long period of time, really. Something like IB, we tend to get the IB results before we get the A-level results. And basically, if someone meets their offer conditions, then we confirm their place, because there's no point waiting. If we were to wait until mid-August, in those cases, that would just be silly. We're not going to change our minds. If someone's met their offer conditions, they've met their offer conditions. However, if someone just misses their offer conditions, then we do tend to wait before we let them know the outcome. And that's simply so that we can consider, if you like, the kind of gathered field of all the people, from all the different school exam types who have just missed their offer. And then we can sort of make decisions at the same time about that. Because if we were to make decisions about IB or any other type of school exam system in advance, then it may mean that there are no places left to reprieve, to use that words again, people who have just missed their A-level offer. And that seems kind of unfair. Just because those results come out later, you shouldn't be at a disadvantage. So people who have just missed, we tend to consider kind of together at the same time. And hopefully that means that we make, again, appropriate and sort of fair decisions about, who to reprieve, who to place in the summer pool, that kind of stuff.
Nice. So just to reassure those who are doing the IB or any other qualifications, if you've got your results back, but you haven't heard anything from the college, you shouldn't be worried.
No, absolutely.
Nice. Another question that we get quite often, that we have covered quite a bit in the other podcast I mentioned before, if a student is thinking about reapplying, they've missed their offers, they really want to go to Cambridge, they're thinking about reapplying, what advice would you have for that applicant?
Yeah, again, it's something that people ask for understandable reasons. I mean, again, people are free to reapply if they want to. And as I think we said on the other podcast, the general advice is if you do decide to do that, it's probably best not to apply to the same college, just so that your application is assessed by a new admissions team, so that there's no sort of baggage left over from the previous application. And all I would say is, if you've just missed your offer, and especially if your current results are below the sort of standard offer that Cambridge has for that particular course, then if you do reapply, you just need to be aware of that. Because if you reapply and if you don't sort of retake something, then it's unlikely that you'll be successful because, in terms of your school exam results, you're sort of under the level that we'd expect. So if people do reapply, they end up maybe retaking a subject or something like that, so that assuming that all goes well, they will be in a situation eventually where they meet the sort of offer requirement. So that's just worth bearing in mind if someone is thinking of reapplying. You'd have to get to a point eventually where you were able to convince us that you had the kind of ability and potential that we're looking for.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking normally the advice with reapplications would be if you are going to reapply, it would be in your advantage if you're applying with a strong application?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that I mean, it seems kind of obvious, but that would give you a better chance of being successful eventually.
Yeah, and I guess there are different ways in how you can miss an offer. Some colleges of some courses might give you an offer that is higher than the standard university offer, and I guess missing one of those offers, but you've actually met the university offer might be warrant the feeling of reapplying. I mean, in that situation, if you are in that situation, it would be worth getting in touch with colleges on seeking advice on how.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually that's a good sort of point to mention, because it relates back to things like the summer pool that we've already mentioned. So, I mean, as you say, colleges are free to set their own offer conditions, and most of the time it is the sort of standard offer, but colleges are free to make slightly more stringent offers if they want to. So it's perfectly possible that someone's applied for, let's say, a science subject at a particular college, and the offer they received was 3 A stars. Okay, which is higher than the standard. Standard would be 2 A stars and an A. Again, here I'm just thinking about A levels, And so in that situation, if someone takes their A levels and their results are 2 A stars and an A, then strictly they've missed their offer because their offer was for 3 A stars. That's precisely the kind of person who might end up in the summer pool, because they've met the standard offer, but they haven't met the slightly raised offer they received from the college. And that's the sort of person who might receive an offer from the summer pool. If they are placed in the summer pool and if they are unsuccessful, then if they were to reapply, as I say, to a different college perhaps the following year, they have met the standard offer. And maybe for the college they applied to, that means that they're happy with that. So people in those situations, should think about their situation just quite carefully. And make sure that they're making sort of good decisions about what to do next. As I say, they may decide that actually their insurance offer is one that really appeals to them. They might be able to study in a part of the country that they're really keen to be based in for whatever reason, maybe family connections or whatever. So that might genuinely be the best option for them. But people in that situation, I think, should think quite carefully about what they do and just make sure that they're making good decisions about that.
Nice. And to finish off, I think it's quite important to talk about how if someone really wants to study at Cambridge, they don't necessarily have to do the undergrad here. There are other ways of studying at Cambridge or something. If you could expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I think with A-level results day, particularly for Cambridge offer holders, again, there's a tendency for them to think, it's kind of all or nothing.
Yeah.
If I don't meet this offer, then it's kind of game over for me. I mean, that's really just not the case,
Yeah.
right? So if they've just missed their Cambridge offer, then usually it means that they can go to another university, study an amazing course in an amazing place, and hopefully really thrive and flourish there. And if they do that, and if they get great results for their undergraduate degree at the university they go to, they always have the option of considering Cambridge as a place where they come to study a master's of some sort, or come to study for a PhD. So, being an undergraduate at Cambridge isn't the only option. Yeah. Basically, if you are keen to study at Cambridge at some point, there are postgraduate options as well. And many of the students who come here as postgraduate students weren't undergraduates here. They come from other parts of the country. They've been at universities in other parts of the country, and many of them have been at universities overseas as well. So there's real sort of diversity in the postgraduate community in that respect. So again, it's just important that people are aware of that. So yeah, I really would encourage people, on results day or during results period, however we want to think about it, not to be too simplistic about the way they consider their situation. So even if they do miss their Cambridge offer, it means they have a whole kind of set of other things that might prove to be, even better suited to them than perhaps if they'd come as an undergraduate to Cambridge straight away.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also worth thinking about whether whether Cambridge would be the place you'd want to be during your undergrad, or you'd rather be here during your postgrads. I know a lot of people who've enjoyed their time an undergrad outside of Cambridge and applying here for their postgrads. So it is definitely worth thinking about what's best for you. That is everything, unless there was anything else you wanted to add.
I think that's it. I mean, I hope some of that is useful. And, of course, we wish everyone the best of luck on results day or when their results come out, because we appreciate it is a stressful time for people. I totally get that. And I think just reflecting upon some of those things we've considered, hopefully that's a way of sort of reducing the stress a little bit. People know the various things that they should do when their results come out. And hopefully that makes it seem a little bit less kind of, either mysterious or just terrifying. There's just a series of sort of practical things you can do, like sending us your marks if you've just missed, and all those things we've mentioned. And I think if people do that, it just hopefully reduces the sort of anxiety levels, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Or if you're watching, good luck with your results. We hope this video is useful. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If there's any podcasts that we haven't done, let us know in the comments and we can do them for you. And we'll see you guys next time. Nice.
Seems all right.
Yeah.